Imagine this. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings. This is your house. But is it your home? Hi, I'm Nelson DeMello, and join me as we try to find our home beyond our borders.
I don't know. I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's a good take.
I had so many thoughts this morning when I was like laying in bed about one is like how I don't know, maybe I was just really emotional, but like how untethered I would naturally be to just everything. And this is almost like a form of obedience, of staying grounded, because like nothing else really matters, you know, and I could just get lost in just thinking about Jesus. But again, I say that emotionally, but then knowing myself, it's like, yeah, well, you know, you get easily distracted with literally anything. So I don't know what you're talking about. It would have been real nice and real sweet for you to hear a guy be like, I'm so obsessed with Jesus and I just want the Lord and nothing else. But, you know, I smell some tacos. I'm like, oh, wait, what? And then I forget my train of thought. You know what I mean? So that's goofy. That's silly. But I do feel that, though. I feel that. I've been thinking about a lot of things, and I think they all weave together. So just bear with me. The first thing I really think about, and I think about this every once in a while, and I'm probably thinking about this because I wrote a song for my wife. It's a little anniversary song. It's kind of cute, not gonna lie. But I'm thinking about art, and there's this like diametrically opposed ideas about art, which is art serves a function, right? And it's uniqueness, novelty, right? So when we think about art, is it socially significant? And I think about every medium of art except for music, I think does that. Like we watch movies about characters that we're like, oh, I would have never have thought. If you're into like the Oscar movies, right? And then there's also, just art pieces and sculptures, and you know, it's stuff that makes you think, makes you wonder, makes you feel. And then you get to music. Yes, I understand. Music makes you feel, at the very least, like happy or sad. And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like there's this immaturity that's been brought down to music. Like it got dumbed down intensely. Like you went from classical music to these things that would just move you in crazy directions. Like you watch an action movie, there's classical music that accompanies it. You watch a drama, there's classical music, you know, or orchestra, whatever. You have all of these movies and the same instruments, depending on melody and all these things, can shift your feelings in the movie, you know. And that, I think, is the power of music. What ends up happening, of course, is the machine that it is now. And yeah, whatever. Which brings me to say, hey, not everyone can do music. Like, screw you. If you're just like, oh, no, whatever. I don't know. No one likes that take. I know. But then the opposite is, hey, everyone can do music. And just try it and just do it. And shoot, man, I've been listening to a lot of Benny Blanco. His behind the wall interviews, his interviews, even like hot ones. He's just so inspiring in that sense, where he's like, just go do it. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. You go do it. You go on doing, not knowing what you're doing, and just do stuff. That's very inspirational, you know, because you do get bogged down. If I'm like, oh, this art thing has to be conscious and all this stuff, at least intentional. Or you're like, this isn't good enough. Like this doesn't speak enough. This isn't true enough. This isn't whatever. And then you end up not doing anything. But I don't know. It's this weird thing. Like you have to toe the line, because if you're just copy and pasting, or if you're not intentional with the narrative you're creating, then you're creating, chaos. And that's kind of what we have. You know, I think music is one of the medias that are most influential without us knowing it or accepting it as influential. You can, or maybe not. Maybe I just give it too much importance. And that's totally fine too. But I do think that like TV shows, like just in general, art, TV shows, movies, music, that like frames an entire generation. And we have to be responsible with that. You know what I mean? So like the song, for example, that I'm writing. Yeah, you've heard of love songs, breakup songs. There are a few that fit this niche. I'm not saying that this is entirely unique, but I think this is a narrative that needs to be just portrayed more, accepted, understood, which is that even the perfect relationship is a lot of fighting and sacrifice and a lot of decision making to stick to those promises that you made. And so that's the kind of song I wrote, just like reminding myself of my vows, reminding myself that I would do it over again if I had the choice, had the chance. And that like love is a feeling, love is an understanding, and love is a choice. And you can't have the right mindset for love if you don't understand that. I didn't necessarily want to talk about love, but yeah, it's this sacrificial thing. And that's like bottom line, it's sacrifice. It's inconvenient. It sucks. It's also the best thing ever. And it's an adventure. So that's how that is opposed. Like, sorry, what? I didn't see I had a callus. Okay, at the same time that it's inconvenient, all adventures are something of inconvenient if you don't have the right attitude. And at the same time, like, sacrificing is the worst if you don't have the right attitude and understanding, like, this is how you show love. Oh, I guess that's also something. Yeah. Sorry. Now we're weaving closer to what I want to talk about. Serving. I'm exhausted. Okay. But in this situation that I'm in, I feel like not even like maybe in this season, I'm fulfilling my Darmic duty. And I'm not Hindu or anything, but I love the idea of Darmic duty, which is like, this is what you were created for and created to be. And you are living it out and aligning yourself. And serving, what does to me, my love language is acts of service. And so for me to serve people, quite literally, makes me feel good. And I know they appreciate it because they're like, dude, I come to a dinner. I don't have to do a single thing. I just pay them a couple dollars, and I leave full, happy, had a date, had time with my family. And like, there was no stress. This is a time where there's no stress. I know there's kids that can be screaming and this and that. There was a customer that came in, baby, 3 kids, and the baby was crying. The kids were going, da-da-da. I'm like, bro, I'm just going to give you all the bread. And y'all, just so everyone can be nice, still calm down. Let's get settled in. Let's get our hands busy with food. Let's get our mouths busy with food. And there was just quiet. There was just a peace and a quiet for a little bit. That's the best, And then that's double-sided, triple-sided even, because I feel like I'm also leading. I mean, look, am I giving myself too much credit, or am I giving too much hope for myself in who I am and the influence that I have? Yeah, probably a little bit. But I sat down, when I got hired, and she was like, hey, you're kind of a veteran. We don't have any vets anymore serving. Like, we have 1 or 2. Everyone else is fresh. Like, I'm going to need your help to kind of like push culture and narrative, for the restaurant. And I was like, dude, that's 2 of my favorite things. And so, yeah, I mean, the second edge to that is or the second side to that is just helping build like someone's vision for a restaurant, you know. And I've just been having wonderful conversations as well. Like my first job with people. Oh my gosh. Hopefully I get a friend of mine on and we're going to talk about all of the things that would get us canceled. And I'm so excited because I'm like trying to think through like, okay, what would we do? I think honestly, I might not even show his face because he's like, you know, we're corporate and all that, and a lot of stuff can happen. So, you know, we would give him maybe even a fake name, and he'd like wave or something in the camera, like just his hand or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But our conversations have been amazing. I think he was actually maybe raised in the church a little bit, came out. Parents were cool with it, but he just obviously had a hard time with church and all that stuff. So he's like, you know, I'm just going to be on the sidelines a little bit. And he was, you know, he's just chilling, but wonderful, fascinating conversations. So funny. Love the guy. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to talk to him. And then my wife, dude, being able to say, yeah, we can afford that. That is just nice. Like, it's nice for me to know at least that she could feel secure. And again, like, you asked me 5 years ago, hey, this is your life. I would have been like, hell no, I'm not getting married. This is absurd. Not doing all that. You asked me 2 years. I would have been like, but do I really have to? Like, can't we just like live in a 1-bedroom apartment with a dog and that's it, you know? And here I am. Crazy. I'm madly in love with my wife. Yeah, that's how it feels though. And especially when I talk about her, I'm like, I don't feel like there's a lot of passion that comes out, but obviously I wouldn't be where I'm at doing what I do if it wasn't for her, like doing it for her, you know. She helps me tame it and be like, hey, I know you think you can get through it all, but like limits on the body, limits on how much time away from me. That's another thing that isn't talked about too much, which is you sacrifice for people the way you think they want sacrifice. You know, you love people the way you think they want to be loved. And because of the miscommunication or the lack of communication, you end up doing things that like benefit them in one side, but they don't feel it. You got to have that conversation. I see like this is a huge like trope between like parents and children, right? Like, oh, I work all the time for you. And it's like, bro, I just want to spend time with you. Just want to watch a movie with you without you like nagging about anything. Just want to hang out with you. That's like the biggest trope that I see. Super common. Don't do it, man. And, dude, Pastor Philip Anthony Mitchell, Pastor Pam Bam. I don't know if anyone calls him that. I redact that. Anyways, he talks about like life is in rhythms. Life isn't like it's its own cycles, right? It's cycles of cycles. And he says like all you got to do is just communicate. Like, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I need to do. And people are so much more understanding than we give credit.
Wait, hold up. If at any point in this you said, dang, I never thought about it like that, please subscribe. What are you doing, man? I'm trying to pay my bills. Okay, anyways, let's get back to the serious stuff. All right, see it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Random stuff. Loneliness. I was thinking about Jesus's loneliness and how like the disparity between him and humanity and his loneliness. That's true loneliness. I think sometimes we feel alone. And the fact is that we're not alone. And I don't mean, because Jesus is always with you, which like is true, but it's also like the tackiest thing to tell somebody who feels alone, right? It's like, great, I have an imaginary friend. Yeah, I'm crazy. Obviously, they don't believe that, but like in the heat of the moment, they're like, dude, what is Jesus gonna do right now? You know? And don't get me wrong, people also have the testimony, and I have this testimony of feeling very alone and Jesus being very, very present. But what I mean is sometimes we isolate ourselves thinking that we're alone, but it's really on us. Like, we have friends that are one call away. We have, I mean, I know family's complicated, but sometimes family, like, there has been a season in my life where I didn't have a lot of friends, but I would always hang out with my parents. And it was a good time. This was, post us being good with each other. It's just being around love feels good. And sometimes we do it to ourselves and we don't realize it. And that's really what I'm saying. And like, it's better coming from a random person. Like, I'm talking as if I don't know who's on the other side of this, and you're listening to that and you're like, wow. But I'm sure your closest friends probably have tried to tell you. And I'm going to tell you for them, I told you so. Yeah, I told you so. But no, seriously, like we isolate ourselves sometimes, and we put ourselves in a place that honestly just makes us depressed. And it's not because of our circumstance. And you're like, hey, I don't have friends. I actually don't have friends. Like, I don't go out enough to make friends. I work, and I don't know, play, like, I don't play multiplayer video games. Like, I play video games, but it's not multiplayer or whatever. Like, I don't play online. Or I am, and it's a bunch of randos, whatever the case is. Well, if you work, there might be people there. And might be people there. I mean, there is people there, unless you're, I don't know. I'm trying to like give every caveat that ever exists. But like, if you don't have friends, you can make friends. Now, don't do the whole desperate thing of like, hey, let's hang out every day because you're my only friend. Let's relax. But there is that sense where our friends are like, they're to be made, and it's everywhere. And I think just being around people matters. Like, we're wired for that. We're wired to be in villages and huts, together, community. Even if your community is like the 22 people that you play soccer with, or the people you work with, just be like, hey, what are you doing this time? Yeah, look, I don't know. I will say that if you're like 30 years old and you haven't had the practice of being sociable, it's going to be tough, and there's a huge learning curve. But this is what's great. There are people that are gracious and understand where you're coming from. I have a coworker. I'm pretty sure he's autistic. Does he get on my nerves sometimes? Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, who doesn't get on my nerves? I'm me, and I'm impatient, right? But this guy, like, you just learn alone. He's like cancer. He just grows on you, That's such, yeah. Is that a little ironic? I wonder, like, I'm sorry, just, the dark jokes coming out of like I just think of the optics or whatever, and it's like, who are you? I love it. I'm everyone and no one at the same time. A man is no one. Game of Thrones. That's my TED Talk. I thank you if you listened. I know I'm all over the place, and you're like, hey, preacher man, where's Bible? And look, let's get into a little. I would say this is more, not even pastoral. We're just having a conversation, aren't we? But there is a sense that, this was godly. This was fruitful. This was wholesome. This is good conversation, man. You can't restrict like Christian dialogue to Bible dialogue. You know what I mean? Like, fruitful, loving dialogue is godly dialogue. And this helps with like discipleship. What is discipleship? It's just living life with Christians. I mean, it's not that basic, right? You want there to be something of a dynamic there. And I know there's some control freaks that are like, no, it's two people walking together. Yeah, sure. If you guys are different enough where they can see your flaws and call you out on your flaws and vice versa, right? But I don't think two immature Christians would be fruitful in terms of discipleship, fellowship. Hang out with godly people. Regardless, they're good people. Unless you're a sinner, then don't hang out with godly people. No, but people who are in love with Jesus and have that, how does 1 Corinthians say it? That anxiety to please the Lord, right? That anxiety to like be in his presence, to pursue him. Those people are 10 out of 10 good people. Do I say that reluctantly? Yeah, a little bit, but let's go with it. Oh, my back is so exhausted right now. And it is what it is, man. So you're hanging out with these people. They love the Lord. They love people. They love you. And they just want the best for you. You're going to run into impatience. You're going to run into character flaws. Absolutely, man. No one's perfect. And hopefully they can know that and admit that, right? But they don't, everyone has their blind sides. And that's the thing, right? It's like sometimes they don't do it on purpose. But it's like, again, a matter of communication. It's like, hey, look, I know you love me, you love the Lord, but you want me to change too fast, or you want me to, like you're putting pressure on me that God hasn't put pressure on me. You know what I mean? And that's like the biggest thing. And in terms of, sorry, that was just a nugget. That was for free. Ka-ching. Going back to like literal discipleship. Okay, so there's going to be times where if it's organic, right? There's going to be times where there's nothing to like confess, nothing to like give, nothing to whatever. And you're just hanging out, talking. And you're like, dude, this is hanging out with you. Yeah. I just talk about deep stuff, whatever I'm feeling. And, some people can't take it. Can't take the heat. So I let the whole world know my business because that's the better alternative. Who's crazy now? Yeah. No, seriously though, that's a whole other thing of like you got to be a level of narcissistic to be in front of a camera and talk about your life or your passion as if people care or, want to listen. And it's like, the fact is though, is that some people do care and do want to listen, and they just want to be a part of the conversation. They want to hear stuff that they haven't heard before, or they want to hear their opinion somewhere. And hey, hello, I am the representative of how I think, which might be how you think. And so here I am saying it out loud. And so you're in the comments like, preach, brother. And here I am preaching, brother or sister. But yeah, so that's kind of how that goes. Dude, speaking of my demographic, I'm actually kind of like confused a little bit. My demographic is young men. It's like me. I'm my demographic, I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy because I would think with what I talk about, it's like kind of sissy. No offense to anyone watching. And you're like, that's not sissy. What are you talking about? But it's like, I was 12. If I were to have this conversation about like loneliness and my emotions and my feelings, guys would be like they wouldn't judge me like that. They'd just be like, I don't know. I don't relate. And all the girls would be like, oh my God, yes, I understand. I feel that too. And here we are with a bunch of dudes, man. So what has really happened? What's really going on? Yeah, I don't know. And then people my age, maybe that's not crazy though. because I'm not talking about like finances or anything like that. Because I don't care. You know what? That's the thing. Honestly, I might be Gen Z. I might be like old Gen Z, like the first of the Gen Z, because I feel like I share a lot of their attitudes towards like people, like the world, you know. But I also have like common sense and mannerisms of the generations before. So we'll figure it out. Or maybe they do too. It's just no, yeah. Because there's like a straight cutoff. Like, no offense, anyone under like 24 or something listens to me and you're like, bro, you're yapping. Yapperson. That's what they say about me. And I'm like, dude, speak English, you know? So yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you for letting me waste 30 minutes of your time, or 15 if you're watching in 2x speed, which I do recommend. Well, I mean, you maybe not used to that. 1.5, I don't know. But yeah, I watch everything at like 2x speed, and that's a crazy thing. I actually feel like I'm learning a lot of things, but it doesn't allow me to process the emotion of what I'm processing mentally as I go through it. And it's kind of left me a little numb sometimes. So I'm like, that's the thing. I don't want to sacrifice how fast I'm learning things with slowing down to process everything internally and this and that. But I think that might be the way to go, which sucks, bro. There's some things that escape that. Like I watched, and like, no offense to anyone who identifies or whatever, but like incels, like I watched the Diary of a CEO episode with the statisticians or whatever about Diary of the CEO, about incels and like the culture, how, you know, men don't like women anymore and whatever. And I had actually paused the episode and like mourn. That's something, I don't know. These fringe groups that are like just misunderstood, like, have my heart. LGBTQ community, at least in the context of the church, and then incels in the context of the world. Like, yeah. All right, guys. I maybe talk more about that stuff, but for now, see you next time. Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thank you so much for going on this journey with me. If you like the content, please like, subscribe, follow, and remember, there is more to life, and that is good news. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.